especially in marketing area. So allow me to begin my brief by briefly introducing our speaker. So Associate Professor Dr. Juliana French now currently serves as the head of Department of Marketing at the Malaysia School of Business Monash University. So Dr. Juliana earned her PhD in marketing from the same institutions. And speaking about her research portfolio spans a high impact journals such as the Journal of Macro Marketing, Business on Society, and also Annals of Tourism Research. She is also the lead instructor for the course Advanced Qualitative Research Subjects at Monash, making her exceptionally equipped to guide us today. So on my personal note, I also have the privilege of calling her my doctoral supervisor during my PhD journey at Monash University. And her mentorship has left a profound impact on my scholarly path. And I am delighted that Dr. Juliana now is here and you have the opportunity to learn directly from her. So today's topic, especially I think relevant for many of you, our Master of Science in Management students, and also Master of Management of Technology students. Some of them are currently undertaking qualitative research for their thesis. So Dr. Juliana today will provide a 1-hour presentation focused on the strategies for successful publication in qualitative marketing research and followed by an open Q&A session. So the total durations for today's guest lectures will be 1.5 hours. So I encourage all of you to engage actively. Please turn on your camera. Please prepare your questions, and during Q and answer, feel free to raise your hand and open your microphone to interact directly with Dr. Juliana. So without further ado, let us warmly welcome Associate Professor Juliana French. Dr. Juliana, the screen is yours.
Thank you, Berto. Hi, everyone. Let me just share my screen. Okay. Thank you, Berto. Hi, everyone. It's a pleasure for me to be here today. Your lecturer was my PhD student, and it's the honor of a supervisor to become a colleague with her student, and I'm sure he's a very good lecturer to all of you. So today my topic is qualitative marketing research, strategies for successful publication. So before I start, I just want to introduce you to me. I come from a mixed parentage background. Both my parents are mixed. My dad is English and Sri Lankan. My mom is Chinese, Portuguese, and Indian. So if you look at my family members, it looks like we are all from different places, different ethnicity. But the good thing about this is I'm very flexible and adaptable to different cultures, which is also the area of research that I like to focus on. So there's 3 main learning objectives for today's session. The first one is the importance of starting with theory when we are doing qualitative research. Then I will discuss how you decide and differentiate different methodologies for qualitative research. And finally, I will talk about how you decide and choose the research methods. I will focus a lot on the number 3 because I already know that most students, 80% of students, usually will do quantitative. Maybe qualitative is just a small method, so it's easier for me to focus on this. But if we have time, I will give you more details for any section that you need more information. So to start off, we're going to look at, in qualitative research, the importance of starting with theory. In qualitative research, theory provides you the conceptual backbone, that will help you ask meaningful questions about complex social phenomena. If we are theory informed, then it will help us to focus on and position our research so that we can actually contribute towards scholarly discussion. Theory will help you to understand how your work can change or advance knowledge. Okay, so why is theory important in qualitative research? Theory provides you the direction, the clarity, and the depth to your research questions, your design, and your findings. Why is it important to start with theory? So this I'm taking from Advantages of Starting with Theory from the Academy of Management Journal. If you start with theory, it allows you sharper contribution because you have a clearer understanding of how your work will change or will advance knowledge. Theory also will provide you a stronger discussion section. When you write a journal article, the discussion section is the one where they are looking to see what is your contribution. It will enable you richer reflection on the theoretical implications. Whenever you send an article to any journal, the editor is going to ask one question. How does this paper challenge, change, or advance what we know at the theoretical level? So theory is very, very important as a starting point. Then the next question is, how can we integrate theory to contribute for a stronger qualitative contribution? There are many different ways to integrate theories productively. First, we can look at the phenomena from different theoretical lenses. For example, institutional theory or capital theory. When I was supervising Dr. Berto, he looked at women micro-entrepreneurs and he looked at institutional theory. Another student can look at women micro-entrepreneurs but look at it using capital theory. Okay, so how do we bridge these two different theories? Institutional theory will look at regulation of the government, will look at the norms of the society, and will look at the cultural aspects. Whereas capital theory will look at economic capital, how they get more money, or social capital, how they build their network, or cultural capital, how they increase their reputation. Now, how can you bring these two theories together? So you will try to look at how you can intersect these two theories so that your contribution can be better than just one theory. So you apply theory from one domain to another domain. For example, actor network theory can be brought in. Actor network theory will look at all the different stakeholders in the network, government, industry partners, your competitors, your customers. Look at all the different actors and how to put it together in a network. Berto, do I need to stop for prayer?
Iya. Please mute. Siapa ini? Siapa yang on suaranya? Sorry, please.
Muhammad Lutfi.
Muhammad Lutfi. Wait. I mute.
Iya, Muhammad Lutfi, Pak. Di off saja itu, Pak.
Okay.
Sorry,
Okay,
I didn't know.
Sorry.
Stop. It's okay because I'm not sure.
Yes.
Sometimes
Yeah, sorry. It's okay.
Stop for prayer. Can I continue, Berto?
Yes, please.
So if we look at assemblage theory, they will see how to assemble the different people in the network. So even though there are different theories, but we try to bring together. Now, why do we do this? Because in qualitative research, right, it's very difficult to find one single theory that can fully explain the richness of your data. So that's why integrating theories will become valuable to you. Okay. Integration also occurs when the combination will bring something novel or something unique to answer your research questions. So now that we've established, the premise of theories, of course, theories means a lot of work, reading, right? But I always tell my students, maybe you just master one theory very well. Then your friend can master another theory very well. Now, two of you can get together. One paper can one person lead, another paper can the other person lead, but you combine your theories because all of us have only limited time. So if all of us specialize in certain theory, you can build it with your other friends. Next, we are going to look at deciding and differentiating methodologies. So what is methodology? Methodology is the process of research or your strategy for research. It is basically the blueprint of your research study. Your methodology will shape what you do and what methods that you choose to use. So your methodology must, 1, answer your research question, 2, fit into your timeline, and 3, fit your personal capabilities and skills. So for example, previously when I was supervising, I think one of the first students that I supervised at PhD level, she's very quiet and very introverted. So I was co-supervisor. So the main supervisor said we shouldn't ask her to do interviews. Maybe we ask her to do some other method. So because of that, we adjusted the methods that she used and the methodology that she used to fit into her personal capability and her personal skills. So it's important for you to ask yourself, what is your personality and your skills, and which methodology will be better for you? So there are many different qualitative methodologies. Today, I will briefly cover 4. 1 is phenomenology, 2, case study, 3, grounded theory, and 3, ethnography, and 4, grounded theory. So each one I will explain. The first one, phenomenology. In phenomenology, the focus is on the lived experience of individuals. So the purpose of phenomenology is to reduce individual experiences of specific phenomena to a description of universal essence. What does that mean? That means you identify a phenomena or object of human experience. For example, insomnia. People who cannot sleep, right? So different people who cannot sleep will each have a personal experience of what it's like when you cannot sleep, when you have insomnia. But what phenomenology will do is they will find each individual experience, go in deep, and try to find what is the essence of all these experiences. Or, for example, the phenomena of grief. When someone has lost their husband or lost their wife or lost their child, grief is very, very subjective. Different people grieve differently. So you find different individuals and you try to understand their experience, their lived experience, and then try to find the essence of it. Okay, so you're looking at the description of what they experience and how they experience that. Now, just like grounded theory, phenomenology doesn't say this is what you must find. It doesn't. It allows you to go and explore and discover. But different from grounded theory is interested in explaining. Phenomenology always focuses on richly describing the essential essence of human experience. You really want to go into the individual experience, down to the root of what it's like. So I remember when I first, I wasn't dating my husband, but I met him. And then at a later date, I actually went, his mom had passed away. And I went for the funeral. And because he was friends of my friends, and my friends told me that 2 months earlier, his dad had passed away. 2 months earlier, I hadn't met him. I was still in Australia. Now, when I went for the funeral, he was joking and laughing. And I was thinking, this guy, his mother just passed away. How can he behave like this? But I didn't realize that that is his way of dealing with grief. So if I wanted to do research in that, I will go and explore how different people experience it. Last week, I went for one of my friends' husband's funeral. Her husband was suffering from cancer for a few years. And this friend of mine is a very happy person, always happy, laughing, smiling. So when this happened, I sent her a text. I said, "How are you?" Her response to me is heart emoticon, but the heart is broken. You know, There's no words to express. But when we went to visit her in the house, when she was talking to people, she was also joking. But no, that doesn't mean that she's not feeling inside that experience. So phenomenology as a methodology will go deep to understand why. One person will be crying and crying and crying. Another person will make a joke. It doesn't mean one is experiencing more pain than the other. So that is when you use phenomenology. The second methodology that you can use is case study. Case study usually are in-depth, it's contextual, and it looks at an instance or a natural phenomenon, for example, an organization, like if I want to look at Monash Malaysia or ITS, or it can be a program, maybe the Masters of Science program that you're doing, or it can be an event, maybe the Olympics, it can be geographical location or decision. Case study is both the process of inquiry, it can also be the product of inquiry. Very important in case study is it is a specific and bounded system. That means there are parameters to the case. So this is, someone says, what if our business model fails? Oh, then it becomes a case study for management researchers. The third methodology that you can look at is grounded theory. Grounded theory was founded by Glaser and Strauss. At that time, they were basically studying about people dying in hospitals. They wanted to understand. They were motivated by the fact that there was an overemphasis of theory verification and underemphasis of theory generation, yes. Glaser came from a positivist background. He was very good in statistical analysis. Strauss came from interpretivist background. So their philosophical standings were different, but they worked together. Their main goal was to bridge the gap between theoretically uninformed empirical research and empirically uninformed theory by grounding theory in the data. So grounded theory looks at a systematic ground-up analysis of data with the aim of generating theory. The theory is developed and evolves during the entire research with a continuous interplay between data collection and data analysis. So grounded theory, basically, the data will lead you to what's the next step, and you get theory from the data. And the last methodology that I will cover is ethnography. Ethnography, the main focus is usually culture and society. Ethnography is the study of people within the context of their culture. One of the hallmarks of ethnography is long-term immersion. That means you must make sure that you stay in that research for a long, extended period of time. So it combines two Greek words. One is ethnos, which is the tribe, the nation, or the people, and one is graphen. It means to write, to analyze, and to tell the story of that culture. Traditionally, ethnography was the methodology of anthropologists. So anthropologists will go and stay for 2 or 3 years to study a culture. But today, a lot of anthropologists, sociologists, organizational theories, consumer culture theories all use ethnography. So you have to remember that sociology is the study of society. Anthropology is the study of culture. So one of the key things about ethnography is you must spend a lot of time in the field. So that's why, remember when earlier I told you, you must look at your timeline when you want to decide on the methodology. If you have a lot of time, you will do ethnography. If you don't have enough time, this is not the methodology for you to use. So let's now look at some scenarios, okay? Scenario 1, developing a theory of influencer credibility. You are exploring how Gen Z consumers determine the credibility of social media influencers when they are making purchase decisions. Currently, there is no existing model to fully explain the decision-making process. So, which qualitative methodology do you think will best support your goals? Okay, I'm going to unshare screen. So remember, we are looking at Gen Z consumers. How do they decide the credibility of social media influencers? And I know in Indonesia, the take-up rate of uh, social media is very high. Now, which methodology do you think will be the best methodology to use for this? Anybody want to try? Don't worry, there's no punishment if you get it wrong. Which methodology do you think? Or maybe I will share screen, then you don't feel that I'm looking at you. So which methodology do you think? Anybody? No? All are very shy? Okay. For this one, because you're looking at the credibility of social media influencers, right? You will use grounded theory. Why is grounded theory good here? Because there is no existing model that fully explains. So you are trying to generate new theoretical insights, okay, through iterative data collection and analysis. In grounded theory, you collect, analyze, go back, it's up, back, forth, back, forth, back, forth, right? So the suitable, not the best, the suitable one here will be grounded theory. Let's look at scenario 2. We are analyzing a failed corporate rebranding effort. So a well-known Indonesian retail chain recently failed in its rebranding campaign. So as a researcher, you want to examine the reasons behind the failure. How do you do this? You will analyze the documents, you will conduct staff interviews, you even will track some of the internal decision making in the last 1 year, 2 years, for example. So in this situation, what methodology will best help you understand this complex real-world business case? Anybody want to try?
Hello, Prof. Juliana.
Yes.
I think this most suitable methodology for understanding this complex is about the real world business case. In the answer is the case study. Is the case study?
Yes, very good. Sorry, who's speaking? I can't see your name. What was your name? Sorry, I just want to acknowledge.
Sorry, Prof. My name is Alpha Rizi. You can call me Alpha, Prof. I think it's the case study because investigating a specific contemporary event, and is in the case study involved a multiple source of evidence, and the goals in the case study is to gain a deep understanding of the how and the why behind the failure, which is central to case study research. I think this the answer. Prof.
Very good. Thank you so much. That's a very, very good answer. Yes. Because it's bounded case, it is one specific company, right? That means there's parameters, it's bounded. Also, that means it's context specific, okay? Yeah, you're able to, like you said, find out the how and the why, and you want to try and understand why it failed, how it failed. And just one data source is not important, so you use different data sources to get this. So very good answer, case study. Thank you. Okay, next scenario. The lived experience of job loss during pandemic. So you are interested in understanding how middle-aged professionals in Jakarta have emotionally and psychologically experienced certain job loss during the COVID-19 pandemic. So let's say some engineers or architects, they all lost their jobs. These are professionals during the COVID-19 and they are all middle-aged. Okay, now in order to understand this, what would be the best fit methodology? Anybody want to try? No, all are very shy. Okay.
Prof,
Yes.
I'm sorry again. I think the best fit methodology in your scenario is phenomenology.
Yes, phenomenology. Very good. So phenomenology, because the focus is on the lived subjective experience and emotional responses, you are trying to understand the essence of the phenomena. Because an architect's experience of job loss, engineer's experience of job loss, let's say restaurant owner or hotel owner experience of job loss is very different. But the phenomena is the same. They are all around the same age. They're all professional. That means they're doing quite well in their career. Suddenly they lost their job. So the phenomena is the same, but each individual experience might be different, right? Because their own life subjective experience is different. So because we want to try and understand the essence of it, phenomenology would be a good methodology to use. Thank you, Alf. Very good answer. Okay, the last scenario, exploring the subculture of esports. So you want to investigate the internal culture and social dynamics of professional esports teams in Southeast Asia. And your plan is to spend extended time with the team during competitions. And because you can't travel so much, you specifically look at esports teams in Surabaya. Now, which methodology do you think will fit for this kind of immersive cultural inquiry? Anybody? No? Okay. Ethnography. So why ethnography? Because you're trying to understand the subculture of esports, but to understand, you need to see it in its natural surroundings, in natural settings. That means, right, you go where they are, you go where they do it. You want to see the shared meanings, the shared behavior, but you have to be there for over a prolonged time, maybe over 2-3 months. Every week you go, for the trainings, or you sit with them at the cafe to have chats with them, so that you can understand the phenomena better. So you notice with each one of the methodology, there are different strengths. There are different ways that you are able to get the best out of that methodology. Okay. So this gives you a brief overview of the 4 methodologies. First, we look at the focus. In phenomenology, the focus is understanding the essence of the experience. In grounded theory, the focus is to develop a theory that is grounded with the data from the field. In ethnography, you're trying to describe and interpret the cultural settings or sharing of the group. And in case study, you want to develop an in-depth description and analysis of one case or multiple cases. What type of problem is best suited for the methodological design? If you want to describe the essence of a living phenomena, phenomenology is the best. If you want to find a theory that is grounded in the data, grounded theory will work. If you're trying to describe and interpret shared patterns of cultural groups or subcultural groups, ethnography. If you want to try an in-depth understanding of a specific case or different cases, then it should be case study. All of these different methodologies, they draw from different disciplinary background. Phenomenology comes from philosophy, psychology, and education, whereas grounded theory originated from sociology. Ethnography is definitely from anthropology and sociology, while case study comes from psychology, law, political science, and medicine. And what is the unit of analysis? For phenomenology, usually you're studying individuals, but many different individuals, okay, that have the same experience. In grounded theory, you are looking at a process or an action or the interaction among different individuals. In ethnography, it is group that shares a certain culture. And in case study, it's an event, a program, or an activity, and it's more than one individual. Okay. So before I go into the next session, is there any questions? Or we can leave the questions till later. Okay. Okay, I will go now into deciding and choosing your research methods. So we have covered 4 different methodologies: phenomenology, case study, grounded theory, and ethnography. Now we are looking at the different research methods. So we know that methodology is strategic, it's your research design, it will shape what you do, and it must fit into your philosophical underpinnings. Methods, on the other hand, is the practical part, the technique that you use. So one side, methodology is the strategy, methods is the plan of how to go and do, the practical part, what technique you're going to use to collect and analyze your data, what action you will take. But your choice of methods must be consistent with methodology. Because, for example, phenomenology, you must do interviews. You cannot say that you're only going to do document analysis and then it's phenomenology. Cannot. Okay? So, when you look at research methods, you can use mono method or multiple methods. Mono method means you only do a quantitative study or you do a qualitative study, single. Multiple methods means you can do mixed methods, which is qualitative and quantitative. And you can use basically complex or simple. Now, in terms of multi-method, you can use multi-method quantitative study, for example, doing survey and then doing experimental design. Or you can use multi-method qualitative study. For example, you do interviews, you do observation, and then you do document analysis. So what are the types of qualitative research methods? The first one that we are looking at is interviews. Now, in interviews, why do we use interviews? The main reason for using interviews is we cannot observe or quantify everything. Our feelings, our thoughts, our intentions, our private behavior, our mental state, we can't quantify this. So sometimes in order to understand another person's perspective, you have to ask them questions. Because just asking them to fill up a survey won't work. And it might actually not give you the right information that you need. So I'm going to show you a video. And I want you to look at what you uncover. Okay. If I'm not sure whether Berto, you let me know if you can't hear, because sometimes the microphone, on my screen, it keeps saying microphone issue, so I'm not sure why, but you just let me know.
It's okay. Good. All good. We will tell you.
Okay. So.
But we cannot hear the sound of the video.
Sorry, Berto?
We cannot hear the sound of the video.
Okay, so that's why, hold on. This is why I wasn't sure. Hold on, let me see. Under my audio, I have to do something, I know. That on my screen, it says microphone issue. Let me check. Let me check. Try again and see.
Or you can stop your screen first.
Or you can stop your screen first when
Have I ever? And here's how it works. Sorry, Berto, let me stop share.
And when you share your screen, check
And
the
when you share your screen, check
I'm going to ask a series.
the
Hold on. I can't seem to get out of my screen. Okay. Is my screen unshared now?
yes, unshare.
yes, unshare.
Okay. Now at the audio, when I go, it still doesn't. Sorry, what did you say just now, Berto?
Nothing, nothing.
Nothing.
Okay. Maybe I'll skip because sometimes I seem to have this problem with video. Okay, maybe I'll skip the video and go straight. Just. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, let's continue with 4 types of interviewing. So when we look at interviewing, some of the things that you need to consider is whether it's very formal or informal, whether the interviewer has low control or high control, and whether the interviewer has low amount of knowledge or high amount of knowledge. First part. The second part also, you need to look at how much of low level of skill or high level of skill that is required and the complexity of the data. So for example, if you have a random conversation at the bus stop, that is low control, okay, and also low skills because it's just a conversation. If your personality, remember I told you your methods must fit in with your personality. If you are a very structured person, you like everything to follow a certain method, then you would probably prefer a structured, closed-ended interview. Then you can have slightly structured, open-ended. So here closed-ended means they have to choose. Open-ended means a little bit, choice. Semi-structured, open-ended means you are guiding it a little bit. Informal conversational means the interviewee has complete control and they're just talking like friends are talking. Of course, when this one, the informal conversational, can give you a lot of depth. But if you are not a good interviewee, you will not be able to control if the person keeps jumping from one story to another story. Then it's difficult. So again, depending on your own skills, you may choose the type of interview that best suits you. So now let's look back. Just now I gave you for phenomenology about the experience of job loss during the pandemic, right? You are researching how middle-aged professionals, engineers, architects in Jakarta experience job loss during the COVID-19. In this case, what do you think is the best fit method that will work? Remember, because it's phenomenology, I told you all earlier, semi-structured interviews. Why we use semi-structured in-depth interviews? This method will allow participants to express their personal, emotional, and temporal experiences in rich detail. The interview can offer a space for reflection and, they think, they recall, they tell the story, which is very important for phenomenological. This is also good in the Indonesian context where we have to save face, and also it can allow you to have one-on-one private, honest sharing. And it's very important to be empathetic because you have to remember their cultural sensitivities around job status or family honor. The next one that we are looking at is focus group interviews. Focus group interviews is a group of individuals that are selected together to comment on or to discuss about a topic of the research. So why focus group interview is different from group interview? Why? In a focus group interview, you are seeing people's emotional tension, conflict, the group dynamics, how they process meanings, what they say, and very important, what they don't say. Sometimes the body language and the face can tell you what they're not saying. their opinions, and then you can also see how they interact with each other regarding a topic, and the topic must be a topic that's important for them. And the researcher must be able to facilitate or moderate the session. So from a focus group, you can see the attitudes, the experiences, the beliefs, sometimes not so much words, but also from their expression. And then the words that they are using, is it strong words? What is the norm of the group, the cultural understanding, and how do the social processes take place? What are the things that they are discussing? So, for example, if I'm interviewing a group of nurses, a focus group of nurses, asking them about using technology. So some may say the technology is not helping us, it's wasting more time, we have to react to the customer, to the patient straight away. But somebody else said no, then you hear their discussion to try and understand further. So let's look at the scenario. Developing a theory of influencer credibility. Just now, we saw grounded theory, right? So now you're trying to develop a theory on of Generation Z in Bandung. You want to try and assess influencer credibility when they're shopping online. So in this sense, right, we know already that grounded theory, the data must be embedded in the to get the theory. So which would be a good method to use? Here, focus group. Why focus group? Because you're looking at online shopping and you're looking at how the Gen Z evaluate the social media influencer credibility. So you want to find interactive discussion to try and understand what are the social cues about trust and authenticity, because you want to discover credibility of the influencer, right? And this is also important when you're researching peer influence decisions, which is important in the Indonesian youth culture, for example. Also, this method is important when you are trying to explore sensitizing concepts. In grounded theory, sensitizing concepts are the broad, flexible ideas, your starting point of research. And the data that you collect will inform theoretical sampling. In grounded theory, theoretical sampling is how the analysis helps you to find out, okay, next I need this data. Now I go look for the data. So the data and analysis is guiding you to sample new data. Next, we are looking at unobtrusive methods. So unobtrusive methods basically is a window looking into natural behavior. It's kind of like professional lurking. It's non-participant observation. Okay, you can just use one method or you can combine it. So examples can be observation, ethnography, documentary analysis, artifact analysis, which we see when we see crime movies, trace measurements, remote sensing. 4, 5, and 6 we don't really cover in business, but just to let you know, okay, I'll just look at 1, 2, and 3. Now, when you're looking at unobtrusive methods, you need to look at the degree of intrusiveness. That means the degree that you are intruding into the person's space and time, high or low, and the distance from the original action. If you are observing participant observation, then you are in the scene at that time, high degree of intrusiveness and very close to the original action. Then non-participant observation will go further away, ethnography further away, and that's how the space and the distance changes. Okay. Why is this method good? Because it's good when you are trying to understand behavior that when they know you're observing, it changes. So you want to try and do undercover spy kind of work. Or it might be sensitive. For example, drug addicts or people who are on death sentence. Okay, when there is safety or risk issues. So it's good to cross-validate this method with other methods. It's cheap, and usually it's ethical things can be reduced. But you have to sometimes still explain and ask for ethics. Now, what is the disadvantage? The disadvantage is sometimes there's the Hawthorne effect. The Hawthorne effect is when people, right, they will change their behavior when they know you're observing them. And also, sometimes the results may not be correct because only one person is responsible, not, for specific incidences. You may not get the personal information, and sometimes there is privacy issues involved. So you have to be a bit careful. In terms of like document analysis, there's a lot of data that we can look. Personal diaries, photographs, or official birth certificates, government data, or employment records, company records, websites. So the data that is available is huge. Okay, so it's a matter of you finding the right one. So exploring the subculture of esports. Remember, we did that earlier for ethnography. So you're embedded with professional esports teams in Surabaya to understand their team rituals and decision-making during live competitions. Now, remember, with ethnography, you must be immersed. In order to be immersed, you will definitely use observation. Okay, when I say observation here, that means you are with them. So you will see what they're doing. When you go back at the end of the day or when you go home, you just say into your phone or write down all your notes. Because you are there, you will be able to observe their rituals, their language, their interaction. You will also see the non-verbal cues when they are spontaneous, when they are, like holding back. Okay, the things that in an interview people are just talking, but here they are acting and you get to see. So it's important when you're trying to get insider perspective, especially for subcultures like gaming, where performance is visually enacted.
Sorry, interrupt.
Next, I'm
Prof.
rushing a little
Juliana.
bit.
Sorry, interrupt.
Yes.
Prof. Juliana.
Yes.
Yes, I'm Trishna from
Yes. I'm Trishna from.
Jakarta. Yes, only one question.
Yes, Trishna.
Is there
Yes.
any
Only one question.
time
Is
for
there any
observation?
time for observation?
Sorry. Is there any what?
Measure time. Maybe if
Me
we
short time. Maybe if we
about
Yes.
3 weeks, 4 weeks, or
So
maybe
measure.
6
about
months, 1
3
year
weeks,
for
4 weeks, or
observation.
maybe 1 year.
Apa tuh jelek kamu
For ethnography, right? You're
Apa
asking?
tuh jelek kamu
Yes, correct.
Correct?
Yes, correct.
Okay. So for ethnography, okay, I'll just share screen. For ethnography, I'll just answer. If you look at anthropologists and all, it's 2 years, 3 years. But for business, a short-term ethnography minimum should be 6 months. But you can collect the data over a period of 6 months, but you only maybe go once a week. So ethnography is a very powerful methodology, but it's very time consuming. So even though we in business, when I do, even though I do over 2-3 years, I always tell my students, put their short-term ethnography. In case the reviewer is from anthropology or sociology, they don't respect, they feel for us we didn't spend time. Because for them, they will go and stay in the kampong for 2 years. Then they call it real ethnography. For us, we call it short-term ethnography. Does that answer your question? So if you're saying 2-3 weeks, it's a bit difficult. But if you 2-3 weeks over a period of 6 months, you collect 1 day here, 24 hours, 8 hours, 6 hours, can. Does that answer your question?
Yes. You are answering my question. Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you.
yes. You are answering my question. Thank you.
No problem. The next one is visual analysis. So visual analysis, there are many different methods. Basically, we are looking at images independently, but very often we will use this source with others. For example, with an advertisement or with interviews. So the context and the social practices are very important. So because the producer of the image and the viewer of the image, you must also think about them, not just one perspective. Okay. So how do you do visual analysis? You look at the whole picture or image as a whole, then you try and pick out what are the subtleties. Trust your own impression, trust your own feelings, write down your notes, write down the questions that you're asking. because it might trigger further analysis. Make an inventory of all your images. Remember your research question and then structure your analysis so that you can provide detailed description. You need to identify the significance or the meaning. What is the hidden question? What do they represent? How do they represent them? What is the hidden meaning of the image? What ideas and values do the people, the places, and the things in the image stand for? So try and identify the point of view. Is it the image you are looking down or you're looking up? Looking up means the image has more power than you. Looking down, you have more power than the image. So these are small things, whether the image is attached or detached from the viewer. Okay, I'll give you an example. This is one of my current students. He tried to understand the politicization of consumption by right-wing discourse in an attempt to materialize new national identity. This is in India. So just to give you a background, the current government in India is very pro-Hindu. So if you are Muslim or you're Christian or what, they sort of marginalize. Okay, so he's trying to show this through an advertisement of this. This is an advertisement for water. Okay, so this words means divine water, nation's water. Here you see is the map of India. These are all national monuments. So he says that the religious connotation to bottled mineral water, Hinduism, where the river Ganges, because Hindus believe in the divine, the river, right? So divine water is connected to national identity using images associated with nationalism. Okay, how does he explain this? The quote: collection of monumental represents national importance, Taj Mahal, Red Fort, all these are nationalism through monuments. Okay, everybody agrees that's correct. But then in the middle of this national, they also put a picture of a temple. A temple included in the list of monuments, which is not a national monument connected to national identity, but it's connected to Hinduism. It's a Hindu religious place. So here he's saying how Hindu cultural meaning is added to nationalism. Next, a collection of national animal, which is the tiger, and national bird, peacock. This is nationalism through the national animal and national bird. That's accepted. But then included in the list is elephant, which is the symbol of the Hindu elephant god Ganesha. So here, this is a Hindu animal, adding Hindu meaning to nationalism. And finally, overshading shadow of the map of India to engulf national place and species. So to pull it all together, they put the map. So connecting elements and tie it up. So Hinduism is added into the overarching theme of nationalism. So this is an example of how you do visual analysis. Of course, this is just one. He's got other data, but I'm just trying to show you how you do visual analysis. I just check time. Okay. So let me just ask Berto. Berto, do you want me to stop at 4 o'clock, or can I finish first?
Yeah, you can extend to 5.
Yeah, you can extend to 5.
Okay. So the next example, I'm using is from my own PhD. One of my studies is how does religious ideology contribute to gendered perceptions of beauty ideals? Okay, that's the research question. So I use Cosmopolitan, but it's in Bahasa Malaysia. Okay, so this is my visual analysis. All the models are in figure-hugging dresses. All the models have long hair styled away from their face. All the models have similar pose, front-facing camera or one or both hands on the waist. All the models have big inviting smiles, contrasting colors for background, attire, and title of magazine. Okay, so this is my notes. So now when I do coding, full figure, body hugging, sensual. Long hair, feminine. Smiling, showing teeth, happy, confident. Hands on waist, emphasizing body curves. Contrasting color, background model, young, vibrant, confident. Full front shot facing camera, the picture is involved with the viewer. Whole figure, medium shot, camera shot, close social distance with the viewer. Next magazine, I did 6 magazines, but I'm only going to show you 2. Hijabista. All models have heavy makeup. All models have intricately designed hijabs, layers of different material. There is an emphasis on hands and face. All models gaze straight, addressing the viewer, looking at you, looking through you. All models don't smile. So, emphasis on hands and nails, areas of body allowed to be displayed. Gazing into camera, not smiling, detach. Emphasis on hijab, exclusively Muslim. Heavy makeup, look at me, notice me. Is this a contradiction? So I put there in bracket. Front shot facing camera, not smiling, detach from the viewer. Social distance of image, intimate distance with viewer. So this is how you do visual analysis. Okay. So now let's look at visual analysis, analyzing a failed corporate rebranding effort. Just now we did the case study, right? So you're analyzing failed rebranding campaign by an Indonesian retail chain, including advertising, posters, social media posts, and internal memos. What would the best method be? Document and visual analysis. Okay, so of course, document analysis will come under unobtrusive methods and visual analysis. So you combine. So the method will examine branding messages, imagery, textual messages, so that you can try to find out what is the misalignment with consumer values or consumer cues. And also you need to remember, very important is to take into consideration the Indonesian context. Because symbolism, color, meanings, language choice, it will influence consumer perception. And you can combine this with interview and observational data for case studies. And the last method is projective techniques. So what is projective techniques? Projective techniques we often use with interviewing and observation. Projective techniques will give you the opportunity to try and get the difficult data when participants is not willing or don't know how to explain their feelings or their experiences. So the question is framed not directly, but indirectly using imaginary situations. You use different stimuli that's ambiguous, and there's a higher degree of freedom because the participants now are not limited in their responses. The response is not about them. They can pretend it's someone else. Okay. 1, word association. For example, I can say if I'm going to research on educators, I will, in universities, I can ask them to write the first word that comes to mind when I say teacher, then they'll say students. Researcher, they give me an answer. Success, they give me an answer. Happiness, they give me an answer. Why is this important? I can, from the association, I can already see the perception. If, for example, I say teacher or researcher and then they say tired or demotivated, then I know there's a breakdown. Then I go and explore what is the problem. Next can be sentence completion. So as a community builder, let them fill up the bracket. Or as an ideal educator, let them fill up. Because what they say is not about them, right? But it tells you something about them. That's the second example. Third one is word bubbles. Word bubble is an ideal tool when you are trying to figure out what someone is really thinking or feeling about a situation. So an example is like this. So I give 2 thought bubbles. The first person says, oh, you're thinking of leaving university. Why are you finally thinking of leaving? Then this person answers, yes, it's been a long time coming. I could do with a change. This one, you leave empty. Then you ask the respondent, what do you think? So you give them a name. Abu asked Ali. So what do you, and Ali said it's a long time coming. What do you think Ali is actually thinking, but he's not saying? Then they will write here. So what they write here will reflect on them. The next one is drawing. So this is one of my PhD students. She was looking at tourists from China when they come to Malaysia. Okay, so this is what the respondent or participant drew. And then they explain, I feel that before the reform, China was like a sleeping lion. But now China has already the ability to compete with powerful countries. It is like an awakened lion, a male one especially, because it's so much stronger. For me, I see myself as a tiny cub sleeping next to the lion. I would love to become a powerful lion that can contribute to my great country. So this is the analysis. The projective drawing constructed by Hong depicts a sleeping lion with a sleeping cub, as well as a lion with its eyes open. The sleeping lion, which is drawn from French revolutionaries Napoleon's famous view that China is a sleeping lion. Once it awakens, it will shake the entire world, is a popular metaphor commonly used by Chinese nationalists. The awakening of the lion, as depicted in Hong's drawing, signifies China's phenomenal rise as a superpower. So this was one of my study tool in my PhD, where I tried to understand women, makeup, what they feel is beautiful and not beautiful. So I just gave them a collage. I said, one side show me picture of what is beautiful, one side show me picture of what is not beautiful. Okay, so this was the collage that one of my participants gave me. So this is what I said. This is a collage Parsa composed to convey what she sees as beautiful and not beautiful. She says that the bees in the collage are beautiful because bees contribute a lot. It helps to distribute pollen, so there will be flowers and fruit, and it also produces honey. Beauty starts with goodness and wholesomeness like the waterfalls. It is strong and endures like the tulips, and beauty contributes like bees. In describing beauty as something that contributes, the suggestion is that it involves others and is therefore social in nature. For Parsha, beauty is demonstrated in being pure and true. Although she's aware that it's not absent of flaws, but beauty is more than just being pretty or beautiful. It is strong and persistent. In her collage, the visuals do not display beauty as colorful or bright, but rather in more natural and understated tones. In contrast, she depicts man-made machinery and pollution and junk as not beautiful, again social in nature as it jeopardizes others. The absence of what is natural is the absence of wholesomeness that makes up beauty. McDonald's is used to portray food that is not fresh and full of additives. These visuals display what is not natural and pure, and she considers this as not beautiful. Women who are weak and do not thrive under stress are labeled as not beautiful. Opposite of white tulips that are strong and don't wither easily. While there are two pictures symbolizing weak women, one picture shows a woman being ostracized by a group of others. So the collage seems to demonstrate that beauty is social and it exists for more than itself. It's part of the larger environment or groups to which it belongs and contributes. So, from this collage, I asked her why all this, and these are from her answers. She explained the picture. Okay, so to summarize, tips for publication. First of all, your theory and your theoretical lens is very important. Never, never underestimate this. Your methodology and your method must fit correctly. In good journals, you may need to use more than one method to strengthen your argument. As the publication bar keeps going up, it is important to consider using a combination of different methods rather than just interviews. So learn to use different methods. This is from Journal of Consumer Research. This is one of the top 3 journals in marketing. So this was a 2018 paper, Beyond Acculturation. They are looking at the ethnic consumer subject in Canada. Interview data, they look at market actor, 27 in-depth interviews. Consumer, so market actors will be the people in the market, brand managers, advertising agents. Then consumer interviews. Then they also look at institutional data, the Canadian political speeches, commission reports, Canadian businesses' annual reports, industry events, and then newspaper articles. Of course, we won't go to that extent, right? Unless you want to publish in the one of the top 3. But I'm just trying to show you the extent of data that is needed in order to publish in good journals. I will just tell you some examples of different data, right? So for example, I have magazine data. I did the magazine data over a period of, I don't know how many years, but then after my PhD, I looked for magazine data over a period of 50 years. Then I combine it with the interview data. So I can then break it up into many different papers. One of my students, she looked at, one study is looking at TV program, one study look at newspaper articles, and then one third study look at interviews. So she can combine little bit from here, little bit from here, little bit, it just helps you. So having different methods just gives you a little bit more room to be versatile if you want to publish. Okay, now I will take questions. Any questions?
Okay, so thank you very much, Dr.
Thank you very much, Doctor.
Before we move on to the
We
key
move on to
question,
the key.
I'd like to kindly remind everyone,
Everyone,
if you have any questions, please feel
if
free
you
to
have
raise
any
your hand
questions, please feel
and
free to
unmute
raise your hand
your microphone.
and unmute your microphone.
Okay, please.
Okay,
Okay, please.
yes. Halimah?
Uh,
Halimah Fatimatus?
Thank you. Good afternoon. Thank you
Thank you.
very much for the
Good afternoon.
insightful
Thank
and
you very much for the
valuable
insightful and
knowledge.
valuable knowledge.
My name is Halimah Fatimatu Zahra,
My name is Halimah
or
Fatimah
Halimah.
Zahra, or
I'm-
Halimah.
I would like to ask, is it
I would like
appropriate
to
to
ask, is it appropriate
conduct
to
qualitative marketing
conduct
research on our
qualitative
own
marketing
company?
on
And
our
if so,
own
what are the best way to
And if
minimize
so,
or
what are the best way to
avoid
minimize or
potential biases that might
avoid
arise in
potential
the research
biases that
process?
might arise in the research process?
What data collection method would
Thank
be
you for
most
What data collection
suitable
method would be
if
most
I, as the researcher,
suitable
I'm
if
also
I,
the
as
main
the
source of the
researcher,
participant
I'm
in the
also the main
study?
source of the
Thank
participant
you.
in the study? Thank you.
Okay, so thank you for your question. If you are looking at a specific company, right, it depends on what are you looking at in the company. Sometimes it might be a bit sensitive. For example, why is the turnover rate high? Or why are the employees' satisfaction levels low? Then yes, it's a little bit sensitive. Or it might even be something to do with how the company is facing strong growth. Now, depending on your research question, depending on the phenomena that you are looking for, one way is you can go through HR. But there's advantage and disadvantage. If you go through HR, sometimes that's what is required. But sometimes the employees may not feel comfortable to answer. So the type of data that you're looking for depends also on what is the research question. If it's a sensitive topic, and you are working there, then I would suggest ethnography. Ethnography means you're there. So you are part of that. So every day you're there, when you go and have tea together, you can hear what people are saying. You just go back and you write your notes. Later, you can ask whoever's comfortable to be interviewed by you. Then you can also look at the company policies, how some policies have changed. So these are different sources of data that you can use. If you are working there, you can use ethnography. If you're not working there, but you have people there who are comfortable with you, close to you, and willing to talk to you, then you can do phenomenology and try and get their lived experience of working in that company. So it depends on what is your research question. Does that make sense, Halima? Does that answer your question?
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Juliana.
Thank you, Dr. Juliana.
Okay. So, Muhammad Al-Farizi.
Okay, hello, Prof. Juliana.
Hello, Prof. Juliana.
Thank you very much, Prof. Juliana, from your
Thank you very much, Prof. Juliana,
insightful
from
and
your
comprehensive presentation on the
insightful and
qualitative research method. This
qualitative research
session
method.
truly expanded our understanding, especially in
Truly expanded
appreciating the
our
deep and
understanding,
richer of
especially in appreciating the deep
qualitative
and richer
approach
of
in exploring complex or
qualitative
social
approach
and
in
economic
exploring
phenomena.
complex or
Um,
social and
I was
economic
particularly
phenomena.
drawn to your discussion
I was
on the
particularly
case
drawn to
study
your
method. I'm
discussion on the
interesting about
case study
this
method.
topic.
I'm
It was
interesting about
fascinating to
this
her
topic.
whole case study
It was
findings not
fascinating to her
only
whole case study
have
findings
the
not
potential to be
only
published in
have
the
the
reputable
potential to
academic
be
journal, as you know,
published in the
but can
reputable
also serve
academic journal,
as
as you know, but can also
highly
serve
contextual
as
teaching material for students.
highly
And
contextual teaching
so
material
the
for
case
students.
study will be
And
the dual
so
impact,
the case
academic
study
and
will be the dual impact,
pedagogical. It's
academic and
incredibly valuable for
pedagogical. It's
researcher and
incredibly
educators
valuable
alike.
for
Um,
researcher and
Given
educators.
the case study often involving the direct and close engagement between the researcher and the research context or subject, I would like to ask you about how do you recommend that the researchers mentally or student mentally the healthy balance between being emotionally or personally involved with a research subject and preserving the objective through the research process. Are specific or relative strategic or ethical boundaries that you consider essential in this regard? And the second question, question, how do you suggest the qualitative researchers, particularly those employing the case study methods, can uphold the spirit of academic inquiry while ensuring the ethical principle and personal safety? Because, Prof, is it a more sensitive but important concern related to the research ethic and safety in the case study? A few years ago in Indonesia, there was a tragic case involving a university student or a research assistant in Yogyakarta who was killed while conducting research about LGBT community in the Yogyakarta. I live in Yogyakarta now. This incident served as a sobering reminder of the risks researcher may face, especially when engaging the controversial or vulnerable topics. I think this is my question, Prof. Juliana. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Al-Farizi. Thank you. Those are very, very good questions. So the first question was, as a qualitative researcher, how do we make sure that we are objective, especially if we become very, very involved in this topic? Okay, so I will give you some examples. Like just now, one of the example for the Divine Water advertisement, actually that is my student Shafullah from India. He's Muslim, but he lives in India, and India majority are Hindu. And he's very, very passionate when it comes to discrimination. This is a very big topic. He always wants to do everything about politics and discrimination. He can become very, very engrossed. So very often I always tell him, Shafi, reflect. Because if you do, as a qualitative researcher, it's very important that in our methodology chapter at the end, we write a section on reflexivity. What is reflexivity? Reflexivity means we say, I am, so for Shafi, he must say, I am Shafila Anis, I'm from India, I'm a Muslim, which is minority in India, we are discriminated against. I'm aware of all this. So when I'm doing my analysis, I make sure that I always question myself, am I being objective? So reflexivity in qualitative research is very important. I'll give you another example. When I was doing my PhD, my topic was actually very easy topic, women and beauty. Simple topic, right? Very simple. First study I decided to do women's magazines. Actually, I wanted to find out how women's magazines can influence women about beauty. But when I started to do the 6 magazines, the interesting thing that I found is about religion. I didn't expect to find this when I'm doing beauty, but because I use grounded theory, that led me down that path. So that's why I started exploring how beauty will influence, how religion can influence beauty, etc. Right? So that's my first study. Then I continued the second study. I interviewed Muslim women, and I had four female cousins I interviewed together, first as a focus group, then I interviewed them individually. So one day I went out, observation, I went out with one of the girls, we went for manicure, pedicure, we went to a just women only salon. And we're talking, we had coffee, and then I asked her, one of her cousins, very pretty. I said, oh, how come so and so, so pretty, but not married? And then she said to me something. And then she told me, she said, but the person is actually married. So, how can you get married? How can you be second wife? And these are all Muslim women. So yeah, I agreed. Then later when we are talking, this is few hours later, long time we spent together, then she said, but if the man can afford, then, it's okay to be. So what she said earlier and what she said later was different, right? Now, I'm a wife. So, of course, I'm feeling, if someone wants to take my husband as a second wife, I will feel it, right? So when I go back, I have to write, I have to journal. And I said that as a woman, I agree with her. And I understand you're already in your 40s. Nobody wants to be lonely when they marry. Everybody wants to have life partners. So I agree. But as a wife, I feel a bit angry. But I have to be very honest when I write this, I have to reflect so that my analysis cannot influence objectivity. So that is the first question you ask about reflexivity. The second question, you talk about ethical practices. You talked about how someone got killed. When you start doing research, you must apply for ethics. Why must you apply for ethics? Number one, you must protect your participants. LGBTQ in Asian context, we are not open to it. In the West, it's different. Australia is different. Malaysia is different. So Monash, Australia, very pro, but if I come to Malaysia, people won't be so easily. So you have to protect your participants, number one. Number two, you also have to protect yourself as a researcher. So when you're planning this, all these questions have to be answered. Is it safe? How will you guarantee safety? These are all questions that will be addressed when you apply for ethics. And if you address all these questions, that will protect the researcher and protect the participants. Remember, research ethics is available today because of all the terrible things that medical researchers did during World War. Like the Black Americans, they didn't give them medicine for syphilis and all that. So that's how you protect the researcher and you protect the participants, by making sure that you actually do proper ethical application, ethics approval. Berto, do you have ethics approval in ITS? I'm sure you do, right?
Yes, we start to have the research
Yes, we start to
division
have the
starting
research
by last year.
division starting by last year.
Okay, so to answer your question, research ethics is one whole topic that I actually teach for qualitative research. To answer very quickly is just the short answer. Okay, I hope I answered your question. Next, Waluyu.
Yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
thank you very much, Professor Juliana.
Yes, ma'am.
It's for
Oh,
hobby, right?
Professor Juliana.
Waluyu? Yeah.
Hobby, right?
Okay,
Yes.
because
Okay.
as I know, the title is about the qualitative method and publication. So could you please give us the strategy about how to publish in a reputable journal about this qualitative method? I mean, is there any like specification, for example, what kind of journal that is suitable for the qualitative method, and also which method is I mean, which method that is most common for the reputable journal, for example, and is there any other strategy from your experience? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you for that question. Okay, first of all, I must let you know that most journals are more quantitative rather than qualitative. So because I'm from marketing, in marketing, there's only a few journals that is very open to qualitative research. So first thing is you need to identify the journals that actually publish qualitative research. Management has much more journals. Many more journals in management actually accept qualitative research. That's the first thing. You check and see whether the journal. Next, you go into Scopus Q1. Berto, are you following ABDC or Scopus Q1 for ITS?
Scopus.
Okay. So if you want to look for good journals, you look at Scopus Q1. Scopus Q1, there's many journals. Then you look at what is your topic. What is your topic? And for your topic, which would be a good fit journal? You know, nowadays, to make your life easier, ask ChatGPT. You give this is about my study is about this. Which journal do you think will be good? My methodology is this. Just because there's so much, right? Then they give you a few, you go to the website of the journal and you check it out. Of course, for me, I can tell you about all the marketing and management journals that are open because that's my area. But again, look at your area and where you think is a good fit. So there's no one size or one method. It's a few different things, but you have to go and study the journal, see whether, like some journals, for example, Journal of Marketing Research, Academy of Marketing Sciences, they will not accept qualitative research. So I don't even bother to look at those journals. Psychology and Marketing, those are pure experimental design, quantitative. I won't even look at those journals. But like previously, Journal of Marketing, very few. Now a little bit more. But maybe qualitative work, only about 10%, 90% is quantitative. So I'm very limited, but because I'm limited, I'm very strategic where I choose to publish. So you have to do a little bit of work deciding on where you want to publish, depending on your topic as well. Yeah. I'm sorry, I know you want me to tell you do this 1, 2, 3, but I can't give you that answer while you because there's no, you have to actually go and do a bit of background research. Yeah. Any
thank
other
you, Professor.
questions? I hope I answered your question. Yeah. Any other questions? Another way to identify, Ilham. Okay, Ilham, you have a question?
Okay, thank you, Professor Juliana. My name is Ilham Nursan Yahya. I would like to ask you about grounded theory and phenomenology.
Okay.
What role
Okay.
do grounded theory or phenomenology play in understanding consumer behavior in the marketing field?
So if I'm looking at phenomenology and I want to understand consumer behavior, for example, in marketing, I might want to look at individual consumers who, let's say, I want to study why individual consumers now, after COVID, prefer to order food. Even though now no more COVID, you can just walk to the shop or walk, but still prefer to order food. I want to understand their experience, their lived experience. I will choose phenomenology and do in-depth interviews with them. Okay, because each one might have a different reason. Okay, but if I wanted to understand this, the phenomena of why in Malaysia, we have Grab. I know there's something else in Indonesia where you order your food and they send it to you. If I want to understand that phenomenon post-COVID, then I might use grounded theory. If there's no theory at the moment explaining the change from, let's say, our grandparents' time, only eat at home. I'm sure your grandparents, they don't like to go out and eat, must cook at home, must eat. then our grandparents' time, our parents' time, our time, and then post-COVID. If you look at over time, the consumption behavior of eating out and eating in, how it has changed, then there's no theory to explain this, then you might do grounded theory. Of course, you have to look at a lot of data, newspaper articles from previously. You might ask your friends to look at their grandparents or interview their grandparents, but you want to trace the process and come up with something new, then you would use grounded theory. So depending on what you want to find and how much time you have, then you will choose the methodology. It's not wrong to only do interviews. You can get a lot of depth, data, rich depth data with interviews. Not a problem. Then when you have that rich data and you have all your teams, it's easy to go and find secondary data to support this. Newspaper articles, other things, or online to support this. But your main foundational data can be interviews. Nothing wrong with that. Yeah. I hope I answered your question.
Okay, thank you, Professor.
Okay, thank you, Professor.
Okay, so interesting. Dr. Juliana, I have one. Okay, could you please mention the common mistakes? Sorry, I have to mute you during. It will be echo. Okay, sorry. So, Dr. Juliana, could you please tell us about the common mistakes made by the students who usually the first time try to publish in the journal article with the qualitative method? I know in our case, we are very lacking of like theoretical background, but could you please add some more like common mistakes so we can avoid it?
That's a very good question, Berto. And this mistake, don't worry, even I have made. When I first started, it's a common mistake, because whether you like it or not, the publication bar keeps going up, up, up. And the first thing that they will look at is theory. That's why I started with theory. And theory is the most difficult thing because you have to read a lot and you have to really know the theory. And then you need to know, just because you know the theory is not enough. You need to show how you are contributing towards theory. So your theoretical contribution, for example, is very important. Because even though you come up with a very good framework in a very good journal, they will come back and say, yeah, but if you cannot take this framework and use in different contexts, then it's not theoretically, you cannot use it theoretically. So I give you an example. My current research is on aging, and we sent a paper to Journal of Service Research, which is an A-star journal. But because our findings was very, very strong, and we also have a very good, we actually came up with a very good diagram, okay? But when the reviewers came back, it was rejected, and they said that how can you use the same diagram for different contexts? So I'm using it for the people who look after their aging parents who are very poor. So I must now be able to take that same context, that framework, and show how will maybe if nurses and doctors with patients can use it, or something else. Then for them, that's theoretically sound. So sometimes we make the mistakes of saying that nobody has done a qualitative paper like this, or all the paper is in the West, not in the East. That's not theoretical. Theoretical is when you are challenging the theory. The theory is saying A, B, C, but you are showing, no, this is not correct. So now you challenge the theory or you extend the theory. That is the most difficult part of publishing, most difficult. Once you have that, the rest all will be easy to do. So it's always important to think of the theoretical part first, then submit. Yeah, Berto, I hope I answered your question.
Yes, thank you very much, Dr.
Yes, thank
Juliana.
you very much,
I
Dr.
think
Juliana.
this is the end of our guest lecture. So now already 3:30 Indonesian time. So thank you very much, Dr. Juliana, for such an insightful and intellectually stimulating lecture. So to all students and participants, before we end this session, please kindly open your cam. We will take documentation with Dr. Juliana. And overall, I hope this session can enrich your thesis journey and deepen your appreciation for the power of qualitative inquiry. Because, like, yeah, as Dr. Juliana said, 80 to 90% of our students, they are relying on quantitative research, and a very small amount of students are doing the qualitative research. But it means that you can also do the qualitative research for your final master thesis part. So let us give one more round of virtual applause to our speaker, Professor, the Associate Professor, Dr. Juliana Franz, for sharing her expertise. We are very happy to have you here, and we look forward to more collaborations in the future. So please open your camera and we will take a picture with Dr. Juliana. Okay, we 1, 2, 3. One more page. And 1, 2, 3. Okay, Dr. Juliana, final thoughts?
Final thoughts?
Uh, Thank you so much for inviting me and for being such a good attentive audience. And if you have any questions at any point in time, or you need any help with any kind of resources, please feel free to reach out. I'll be more than happy to provide you. If you don't have that resource, I will try to provide you whatever. And I wish all of you all the best for your master's thesis. And hopefully I will see some of your publications. Thank
Okay,
you.
so thank you very much once again. So everyone, this is the end of the International Guest Lecture session. And once again, thank you and have a productive and meaningful day ahead. Once again, thank you, Dr. Juliana, and I officially end this session. Good afternoon.